Welcome to Your Daily Writing Habit, episode number 817. If you are writing a book or thinking about it, or maybe you've started writing a book but you need some help getting it done, you are in the right place. Good morning. Happy Sunday, everyone. I'm your host, Christine Whitmarsh. If you're looking for me online, look for Christine Inc., like that stuff we write with. Each day, I'm sharing with you the writing habits I've learned over my 20 years as a ghostwriter, book coach, and author. I have found that three things in particular have a huge impact on your success as an author, and they have the ability to turn someone who barely sees themselves as a writer into a published book author. Those three things are writing fundamentals, productivity, and mindset habits. And once again, good morning, everyone. Happy Sunday. I hope everybody's having a great weekend. And as we do every Sunday here on the show, it is Sunday Story Time, where I grab a book off my bookshelf, whether it's one of my own books, a client book, or a book that is positively impacting me or has positively impacted me in some way. I read you an excerpt from that book and then pose some sort of question or activity or some way of helping you to apply the information from the excerpt to your writing, the whole point of this show. And today, and I know I've been talking about this book recently, but there's just so much writing gold in it. Today I've chosen On Writing Well by William Zinsser. Highly recommend it. One of the best writing fundamentals books I've ever read, and I always leave the link in the show notes if you want to get yourself a copy. So here's an excerpt from On Writing Well. Clear thinking becomes clear writing. One can't exist without the other. It's impossible for a muddy thinker to write good English. He may get away with it for a paragraph or two, but soon the reader will be lost, and there's no sin so grave, for the reader will not be easily lured back. Who is this elusive creature? The reader? The reader is someone with an attention span of about 30 seconds, a person assailed by many forces competing for attention. At one time, those forces were relatively few. Newspapers, magazines, radio, spouse, children, pets. Today, they also include a galaxy of electronic devices for receiving entertainment and information. Television, VCRs, DVDs, CDs, video games, the internet, email, cell phones, Blackberries, iPods, as well as a fitness program, a pool, a lawn, and that most potent of competitors, sleep. The man or woman snoozing in a chair with a magazine or a book is a person who was being given too much unnecessary trouble by the writer. It won't do to say that the reader is too dumb or too lazy to keep pace with the train of thought. If the reader is lost, it's usually because the writer hasn't been careful enough. That carelessness can take any number of forms. Perhaps a sentence is so excessively cluttered that the reader, hacking through the verbiage, simply doesn't know what it means. Perhaps a sentence has been so shoddily constructed that the reader could read it in several ways. Perhaps the writer has switched pronouns in mid-sentence or has switched tenses, so the reader loses track of who is talking or when the action took place. Perhaps sentence B is not a logical sequel to sentence A. The writer, in whose head the connection is clear, hasn't bothered to provide the missing link. Perhaps the writer has used a word incorrectly by not taking the trouble to look it up. Faced with such obstacles, readers are at first tenacious. They blame themselves. They obviously missed something, and they go back over the mystifying sentence or over the whole paragraph, piecing it out like an ancient rune, making guesses and moving on. But they won't do that for long. The writer is making them work too hard, and they will look for one who is better at the craft. Writers must therefore constantly ask, what am I trying to say? Surprisingly often, they don't know. Then they must look at what they have written and ask, have I said it? Is it clear to someone encountering the subject for the first time? If it's not, some fuzz has worked its way into the machinery. The clear writer is someone clear-headed enough to see this stuff for what it is, fuzz. I don't mean that some people are born clear-headed and are therefore natural writers, whereas others are naturally fuzzy and will never write well. Thinking clearly is a conscious act that writers must force on themselves, as if they were working on any other project that requires logic, making a shopping list or doing an algebra problem. Good writing doesn't come naturally, though most people seem to think it does. Professional writers are constantly bearded by people who say they'd like to, quote unquote, try a little writing sometime, meaning when they retire from their real profession like insurance or real estate, which is hard. Or they say, I could write a book about that. I doubt it. Writing is hard work. A clear sentence is no accident. Very few sentences come out right the first time, or even the third time. Remember this in moments of despair. If you find that writing is hard, it's because it is hard. That was an excerpt from, again, just you can probably tell from that excerpt what a fantastic writing fundamentals book this is on writing well. The Classic Guide to Writing Nonfiction by William Zinsser. I think fiction writers could benefit as well. And pretty self-explanatory action item here. Get to work. Get to work clarifying your writing, trimming that literary fat, making sure that the reader is receiving the message that you intend to send them. So if I were you guys, I would listen to this excerpt maybe a few times today. There's just so much gold in just that excerpt and, again, overall, the book on Writing Well, William Zinsser. Thank you for joining me here on Your Daily Writing Habit, where I am helping you write and finish writing an awesome book. And if you could please subscribe and follow this show wherever you are listening to it and drop a review while you're there, I would appreciate it. Until tomorrow, happy writing.